Hello, and welcome to the Coach Right podcast, where we explore how to turn coaching expertise into published pages. I'm your host, Helen, portfolio career specialist, author, and creator of Coach Right, the writing space and program specifically designed for coaches. You can get the episode show notes and your free guide to publishing options at coachright.co.uk. It's time for the next chapter. Welcome to the Coach Right podcast. Helen here, recording on Saturday, the 1st of August, 2026. And this is episode 33. Today's guest is Claire Pedrick. The second edition of her book, Simplifying Coaching, was released earlier this year. And by coincidence, I was right in the middle of reading it as we spoke. Simplicity has been my word of the year. And one of the things I admire about Claire is her ability to use clean language and structure to convey what can be complex topics. She's one of the UK's most renowned and respected coaches and an award-winning author who has experience across various paths to publication for her books. And we talk about all of those different routes, why each one suited each book, and the financial and strategic choices that we all need to consider when publishing. She has so much wisdom to share, and this is a slightly longer episode than normal, but I think you'll agree it's worth every minute. If you're on YouTube, you will notice that this is the first episode that we are on video. And if you're listening and prefer to watch, feel free to swap over. In personal news, it has been a busy couple of weeks. It always makes me laugh at this time of year when those who have children go into holiday mode and say, oh yeah, I'll pick that up in September. Whereas actually I've been full on with all sorts of activities and are very much looking forward to a break in September. First of all, I am pleased to share that the annual Plan Your Portfolio Planner has been submitted to Amazon. A bit of background for those that haven't come across the planner before. I'm one of those people that likes to be organised, in case you haven't noticed. And when I set up my coaching practice as part of my portfolio career, I searched around for a planner that I could use away from a screen and that would enable me to consider all of the different pillars in one place. I couldn't find one, so I made one, as you do. Turned out that other people needed it too, and it has been very popular. Each year I iterate it slightly based on feedback from people who have used it, but also from my own experience of things I've added throughout the year to make it stronger, or bits that actually don't get used and get taken out. This year, I've added in sections around business planning and more details about financials, which I'm sure will be useful. A few things if you're considering creating a planner yourself that are worth noting. According to Amazon's terms and conditions, it is considered to be a low content book, and that means there are some slight differences when you publish it. First of all, I do not use an ISBN for the planner. I use the Amazon allocated ASIN. I do that because ISBNs cost money, and this is an annual tool rather than a book per se. I only publish it on Amazon and only in paperback format, although this year I have made the PDF available on my website if you would like to download a copy for free, and I'll pop the link for that in the show notes. The other thing to bear in mind is that low content books take a little bit longer to go through Amazon's checks and balances, and you can't set them for pre-order. Last year, it took nearly a month before I pressed publish for the book to be approved. So hopefully by the time you listen to this, it will be available in paperback format. But as of this morning, it was still pending review. So I'll let you know how we get on. In other news, the Resilience book, which now has a title, Enough, Rethinking Resilience in a World That Never Stops, is still waiting for its cover. I have been backwards and forwards over the past couple of weeks with the designer, and we're getting close to the final version. I'm looking forward to sharing that with you. As soon as I have the final cover, I'll do the formatting checks, order the paperback and hardback proofs, and get the advanced reader copies out to my team, ready for pre-order in all the stores. Watch this space. If you're listening in real time, then just a quick note to say I am hosting my summer workshop again this year. It's a free virtual session of around 60 minutes or so with a focus on mindset, and will be held on Friday the 14th of August at midday UK time. And yes, the replay will be available because I do appreciate Some people are on holiday. Go over to coachwright.co.uk/confidence and sign up for your free spot. We've been busy sprinting with the EMCC Aspiring Writers Group for the past couple of weeks, and there has been absolutely amazing fun. We've had some new faces this time around, and I think some of you may have found your way to the podcast. So if that's you, hi, it's lovely to have you here. I adore hosting the EMCC Aspiring Writers Space, and we have a series of sessions planned for members throughout the autumn. It's been a bit light on coaching news this week as we head into the summer months. But that said, we have a big announcement in publishing news that will definitely make up the difference. Substack have announced that readers can now scan their text and see how much of the content was written by AI. Probably. It's all powered by an AI detection tool called Pangram. I'm sure we've all got an opinion about this, but I really like the soundbite from their founder, Chris Best, who said, "We don't want to wait until your Substack app turns into LinkedIn before we start to learn and make progress. So to start, we're launching some tools that we hope will increase transparency and give us a basis to ask for your feedback." And I think that's hilarious because let's be honest, how often do you go into your LinkedIn and it's literally like AI slop has vomited all over your feed? It's not good. People step away from the copy and paste. However, with the Substack tool, there are a few points to be aware of. First thing is you will only get the AI analysis if you request it. The second thing is if you're a creator, you can disable AI detection on your work. And all of this will only apply to anything that's been published on the platform after the 21st of July. Now, of course, this has caused quite a stir because AI detectors are notoriously unreliable. And a few hours after I heard the news, an email landed in my inbox from Ruben Hassid, who ironically has a very good Substack. And the email was titled, "How to Bypass AI Detectors." For me, this is all about transparency around what is AI generated and what is human. In Enough, I've actually put an AI statement in the back of the book so people know exactly how I've used AI in my process. As I've said before, my books, my weekly newsletter, Coach Write Reflections are written by me. The introduction to this show is written by me. The show notes are generated by AI. The transcript timestamps are removed using AI. The editing is AI assisted. I have no concerns about telling you any of that. Do I use AI in my writing process? Yes, of course I do. For editing, for research, for idea generation, and sometimes when I just get stuck and really need to get rid of a passive verb. I have no problem with you knowing that. You don't need to go and check with a detector. I'm sure we are going to continue to have this conversation and things will evolve. Right, that's enough from me. It's time for the interview with Claire. I'll see you for the next chapter. Today, I am delighted to be joined by Claire Pedrick, a human who facilitates other people's thinking, an MCC master coach and coaching supervisor with over 15,000 hours of experience. Claire believes that coaching is simple and that it takes time to learn to work that simply. She's received an outstanding contribution to coaching award from Henley Business School for being a coach and a Points of Light award from the UK Prime Minister for being a human. She's the host at the Coaching In podcast. And if all of that wasn't enough, she's the author of Simplifying Coaching, The Human Behind the Coach, and has 2 titles in the wings for publication later this year, Lens, Not Label, and Uncontained. Welcome to the show, Claire.
I'm exhausted after you said that.
I know, you're
Hello.
a very busy lady. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. If we can start by sharing a bit about your journey and your path to publication.
Well, where to start? I was never going to write a book.
It does that to us sometimes.
I didn't start with that. So in my early days, I published a book called How to Make Great Appointments in the Church because I was doing work around appointments and somebody said you should write a book.
Yes, as they do.
So So Sue Blanche, who's now my business partner, she and I wrote this book, and it was great fun. And we launched it in the Houses of Parliament in the Speaker's Lounge because we happened to know somebody who was able to make that work for us. So follow that. It's quite
book launch dreams.
Yeah. So that put into a book on request of the publisher something that was inside me. And I kind of enjoyed writing it. We wrote it in Starbucks on a particular table in the corner. In fact, I think each of my books should be dedicated to a different coffee shop. And then I had a folder on my computer for years and years after that. So that came out in about 2010, I think. And I had a folder on my computer that said book. And people would go, would you write a book? And the thing is, I kept learning. And so because I could really notice what was changing from one year to the next, to the next, to the next, I didn't want to put it down because I would have had to take stuff out of the book. And once the book's in the public domain, you're stuck, it's out there. So so I did a compromise. I created a series of sound bites, I guess, about what simplifying coaching was all about. And then I'll show you, turn them into a series of postcards that are still available on our website that just have the simple principles of coaching. Ask them, contract. You see, I don't like that one now because I've changed them. Keep the responsibility in the middle. So I have these postcards. And one year I said to my colleague, we know more now than we knew before. And we had to go through all of the postcards, packets, and take out the one we didn't agree with anymore and slip in a new one we'd have had printed. But it kind of allowed for the learning. It was a pain in the neck. And then I was at a conference, a coaching conference, and a woman called Laura, somebody, came up to me and she said, I'm an editor. I'm an editor of the coaching catalogue at Open University Press, which is now called McGraw-Hill. I've just heard you speak. Have you got a book for us? So I'm absolutely torn because my book was going to be called Simply Coaching. I just think that's a lovely name. And one of my colleagues moved to Australia and used the Simply Coaching word, and it just feels so lovely. I love it. And I went, yeah, well, sort of, but I don't really want it to be a book. And then I think, this is the biggest academic publisher in the world. Claire, you can't go. No thanks.
No, thank you. Yeah, exactly.
So I went, yeah, I think I have. And it's called Simply Coaching. And she said, we'll be talking about that. Oh, golly. So basically, that was the first coaching contract for the book. And I was so naive. Even though I'd worked with a publisher before, it just felt like a really different experience. I hadn't got a clue what I was doing. So I wrote it, and basically it's the handouts of a course that I've been running since the turn of the century.
Yeah.
2003, I started running the course, and the handouts just poured into a document and then turned into the book. And I was able to make the changes and go, I don't like that anymore, and I want this, and everybody. And they then sent it out for review and everything, and off we went. And Laura said to me, "You've got to change the title." And I'm going, but I like Simply Coaching. And that was the moment where I learnt the best lesson in my writing career, because I would actually now call myself an author. I would not have called myself an author then. But that was lesson one in my writing career, which is trust your editor and don't fight them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I noticed that when I look at book covers, I think your editor told you not to do that and you overruled them.
Yeah.
And Laura said, this is not a great title. She said, you need to call it Simplifying Coaching. And I'm going, I don't like that. And I actually said to her, I don't like that, but I'm going to go with what you said. And she said to me, the subtitle is more important than the title.
Did she tell you why?
Yes, because that's what tells people what the book's
Yeah,
about.
exactly.
But you've also, for the algorithms, got to have something sensible in the title in order for people to understand what it's about as well. So she came up with how to have more transformational conversations by doing less. And what I know now that I didn't know then is that was genius. And that's why you have a really good editor. What I then discovered, so I submitted the manuscript April 2020
Mhm. That
as
was a fun
COVID
time.
hit.
Yeah.
And in fact, I wouldn't have met the deadline if COVID hadn't come, because as soon as everything closed down, I was able to finish it. So that was just a really fascinating journey. And I didn't understand what editing and copy editing and everything meant. So I submitted. Am I allowed to use this?
You can say whatever
language?
you like.
What I know now that I didn't know then was I submitted my shitty first draft.
Yeah.
And I thought that they were going to tidy it up, and they didn't really. So,
Okay.
so if we stay on simplifying coaching,
Yeah.
when they came, so simplifying coaching has been a really high seller, and it's just such an amazing, when you birth a book, I'm really of the mind that you birth a book, and the labor is horrendous. And I now, several books on, I know that I have 7 iterations. I have 5 iterations before I would even show it to anybody.
Yeah.
And then iteration 6 makes it okay. And then iteration 7 is the one that the publishers now go, the editor goes, this is actually really good and doesn't make many changes. But I submitted iteration 5, which was not the best idea. And when they came back to me in 2025, maybe, and said, this is selling really well, but we find that we need to do a second edition with a new chapter. Have you got that? When I've published a book, the minute it arrives, after I've done my unboxing video,
Yes. Isn't it fun doing those?
I then grab the first copy and I write on the cover, which is super scary. And then immediately I start writing inside the book in ink, because in normal books I write in pencil, but I write in ink. And I've gone out of focus for a minute. There we are.
That was clever. You just touch the screen and it brings you back. I mean, oh.
Now you go to the camera. Little tippet. So I had got the second edition of Simplifying Coaching inside because I'd already written in it.
Yeah.
So when somebody goes, I don't understand this, then in the book, when I'm answering the email or answering a question in a keynote or in a workshop, I write in my copy of the book my simplified version of what now needs to be written. So it was really easy.
That's brilliant.
So I cut it up with a knife. I broke the spine with a knife, which was really painful thing to do. And then spread it out, because I am a writer who needs cut and paste, and my cut and paste is scissors and sellotape. So I cut it up. And then I thought, actually, if you're gonna write the second edition, you need to read it. As I was reading it, I was thinking, this isn't written very well, which is hysterically funny, given lots of people say to me, this is the only coaching book we understand. We really like it. So I'm reading it, and well, number one, there was a lot of duplication and things were in the wrong place and some things were said twice, which I thought would have been picked up by, but it wasn't. But the other one was, I thought, this is a bit boring because you keep starting sentences within as much as. So the great thing about technology, so I searched in as much as, okay, 138.
Oh, it's definitely an overused phrase for you.
And yeah, but do you know, the thing that was really interesting was I thought I was going to be shocked when that book came out, and I had a circle of people who were going to defend me from the complexity in coaching, because I did actually think that people were going to tell me I was stupid because coaching can't be simple. It has to be complex. So, yeah, that was a very long-winded version of the story of one of my babies.
I know. And it's interesting to hear the evolution of, because I was going to ask you about the second edition. And it's interesting. So before we started recording, I mentioned to Claire that I'm reading Simplifying Coaching at the moment. So I'm
The green
literally
one.
halfway through the green one, the second edition. And one of the things that I notice is that the language is clean. And it's one of my bugbears when there's a book that will posits that it's going to teach me something about coaching, and I have to wade my way through all of this academic jargon that's completely irrelevant to the point. And there's something for me in choosing the words to welcome the reader, the learner, the coach. And you do that brilliantly.
Thank you. It's hard.
It is hard.
And believe me, the simplicity that you read in all my books now is not what I wrote the first time the words were dumped on the page. So I dump on the page, and the benefit of writing a number of books is that you become more confident in your process.
Yes.
So I know it's going to be complicated and nobody's going to understand it, and I'm not worried about that. I just get it out, and then the shaping starts. I love the shaping,
Yes.
but it is really it's more work in the shaping than there is in the dumping of concepts, really.
Yeah.
But when the second edition came out, I said to McGraw-Hill, I said, there's one condition. I am not writing a second edition unless you have bigger font and more white space. Because the feedback that came in the first edition was, we really love your book, it's really easy to read, but the font's too small and there isn't enough white space. And they said to me, I said that to them in the editing process, and they said, this is our standard layout for an academic publisher. And then I just went, if we're going to do this, you've got to do what I want. So I'll do anything else that you tell me, but we're not doing it unless it's a bigger font and more white space. So they changed it for me. And which, when you're in a series, in a series, you kind of have to be in the series, but I would die on that hill. I mean, really, honestly, that is, I'm also in dialogue about audiobooks.
Oh,
so lovely listener. Yes, I think they should be audiobooks. And believe me, it takes up time for me. I am on it, and there are reasons, and one day.
Oh, that's very exciting.
But I have a supervision community in Patreon where I actually read my books.
Oh.
And not only do I read my books, I tell you what's in ink.
Oh.
So I actually tell people what I'm learning. And what's really interesting is if I read an excerpt from a book, as I'm reading it, I go, I don't think I think that anymore. So I'm also learning in the moment. And then there are pauses in the videos where I go, I just need to write that down. So that's the birth of Simplifying Coaching.
And there's so many things to pick up on in there. So the first thing to just pick up on very briefly is that hill that you stood on and said about the formatting, because again, I think in these days we are much more aware of accessibility in print. And I actually did an episode a few weeks ago around accessibility in writing and the importance of not having a wall of words that, for whatever reason, creates a barrier to the reader. And when you're independently published, like I am, it's super easy just to find the setting in the formatting tool and make the choice. When you're with when you're with a traditional publisher, they will have their house style, and unless you check your contract and demand the change, you won't have that. So I think it's important for people that go down the trad route to know that A, that would happen, and B, you do have a choice if you decide to fight that battle, which I think is a battle worth fighting too.
Yeah, and what was interesting is that all the rest of the books are sans serif font. So Simplifying Coaching has got
the little lines.
It's like Times. It isn't. I don't know what font it is, but from The Human Behind the Coach onwards, all my books are sans serif, and the publisher goes, that's very unconventional. People use serif fonts, but neurodivergent people find it easier to read sans serif. So I also go, no, I know you're probably right, and we're going to do sans serif.
Yeah, I do the same. It's why would you not? Why would you exclude people? Having a font that's easy to read for some people doesn't exclude anyone else. So
isn't it? It's so interesting, isn't it? But I think so. Before Simplifying Coaching came out, a friend of mine was a head of a publishing company, and I can remember going to see him in his office in London just to generally talk books. And he said to me, this was probably 20 years ago, he said self-publishing is the way, because you won't get anything more from a traditional publisher apart from an easier route to Waterstones,
shops, yeah,
and Barnes and Noble. You won't get an easier route in with a publisher than you will by self-publishing. But he said what you need to do is you need a business book cover designer, and you need a really good editor who's going to make sure that it's not your pet book, because you're writing for the reader, you're not writing for yourself. And I think so many people make the mistake that they're writing for themselves without thinking about the reader. And I have to say that now I know who my readers are, it makes it much, much easier to write, because I know it's Emily and Shankar and Sabina and whoever, and I can see their faces. And I'm going, oh no, Claire, that's too English. You just need to slightly change that metaphor, or you need to explain it. So writing for the reader for me has become much, much easier. But I get asked to read manuscripts a lot. Please don't send me lots, by the way, people. Because I don't say yes to many. But when I read them, you can really tell if something's been edited.
Yeah.
Because you can write a book for yourself, but actually in the end you need readers. And the average non-fiction book sells 300 copies in its lifetime. So let's just be a little bit realistic.
Yeah, absolutely. There's something in creating a product that is as good as you can make it, because actually it's the reputation of that product that will help turn the flywheel. Someone will read it, think it's brilliant, and recommend it to somebody else.
Yeah.
Unless it's not brilliant, and then they won't.
And it's really, there's something about getting your ideas out there. But I think my ideas are more out there through other things that I've done, like podcasts, webinars, people passing things on. Somebody who's helping me do some work at the moment was here yesterday, and she said, you're all over Medium. And that's people writing about what they've learned from my books. And I had no idea about that. So, and I'm not going to go and look, because I think I'll freak out. So I'll just go, oh, that's nice. But I'm not going to check it out, because there was a post on LinkedIn that was written by AI that said that the IP from my book belonged to somebody else. And somebody challenged them, and they didn't respond. And then I challenged them, because it said it was his and it's not, it's mine. He's very famous. And then he said, well, I don't know how to take it down. I want to go, yeah, but you could at least put a comment on, say, this isn't mine, it belongs to Claire. And didn't.
Yeah.
Because once our stuff is out there, we can't do anything about it. It's out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, it's really interesting.
It's a fascinating time, particularly in the non-fiction space, isn't it? There's a graph I share in my community sometimes that shows the number of non-fiction titles published, and literally the line spikes up as soon as AI came into the mainstream. Because, like you say, lots of people are just generating this slop and then press a button and then put it out into the world. And so actually that discoverability of books, yes, your book has to be absolutely amazing, and you have to tell people that it exists, and you have to prove that you as a human think these things, talk in this way, connect with your reader in this way.
My husband bought a book before we went on holiday, and it was exactly the title that he needed to read. And I said to him, is that any good? And he said, I'm not sure. And I looked at it And it was self-published. So the title made him think that it was going to be the right book, but there wasn't any content. I mean, it just was a nothing.
Yeah.
So I think I would want to say to any aspiring writer, yes, we've probably all got a book in us, but that doesn't mean that anyone's going to want to read it. And bridging the gap between I've got a book in me and somebody wants to read it is actually where the work needs to be done.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's something in why someone wants to write a book. So, you know, if someone wants to write the book of their heart about their family history, for example, and put it out into the world and give it to their friends and family, that's lovely. And do that and be proud of it and give it to them for their birthday. You know, absolutely don't expect to make any money out of it, and know that that's okay.
Well, if you're Claire Pedrick and you got 4 coaching books, don't expect to make any money out of it either. Well, I mean, not directly, not from the actual book sales.
And that's important too, isn't it? So as an asset in your business, a book can generate revenue if you independently publish and market in a certain way and have multiple books. More often, it's a stepping stone offer. It's a credibility reinforcer. It's an opportunity opener. So what's your experience been of that?
So, I mean, absolutely for sure, my reputation has completely changed. I went to a conference in May, and it was with the ICF coaching. And it was the first coaching conference that I had been to since in person, since Simplifying Coaching came out. And what a different experience that was. It was actually a bit overwhelming. So I was talking to somebody and we were having, you know, one of those really interesting conversations you have at a conference. And we had these massive American, you know, a massive badge with all sorts of things, but you don't look at the other person's badge because you're talking to them. And we were just talking, she and I, and we'd been talking for quite a long time. And somebody came over and went, Claire. And you, yes.
And you're like, I don't know who you are.
And she went, Claire. And I went, yeah, I love your books. And that's such an amazing thing for somebody to, I mean, it's so moving. And the person I was talking to looked at my badge and she went, you're Claire Pedrick. I went, yeah. And she went, you're a goddess, which I thought was really lovely. But actually the thing that what I liked most about that conversation is that we'd had a 20-minute conversation where she didn't know who I was. And that was just beautiful. But it is around now on the internet. I now have a jacket per book.
Yes, please tell me more about this. I think this is genius.
Well, it's only sort of emerged, really. So we went on holiday last summer to Greece with our family, and my daughter had this amazing blue jacket from Sea Salt, and I liked it so much that I went and bought a yellow one. And I hate buying clothes. So I thought about it for a few days, and I thought, actually, you like this jacket so much, and it looks, you know, it suits me, and all that. So I went back and bought a green one, and then they redesigned the cover of Simplifying Coaching and they made it green. I thought, I've got a green jacket and a green cover. And then we were talking about Lens Not Label, and somehow the cover of Lens Not Label became yellow. So now I've got a yellow jacket and a green jacket. And that's when the jacket thing with books became a thing. So I then went and bought the blue jacket off my daughter. So then I had a blue jacket, a green jacket, and a yellow jacket. And so then we're writing Uncontained and we're trying to think about the cover. And I said to Kim as a joke, I'm going to Sea Salt, and here is a photograph of all the remaining colours in this style jacket. And one of them was kind of salmon, and one of them was beige, and one of them was black. And she went, we're not having the cover any of those colours. Should I want the cover to be red? So I went, but they haven't got a red jacket. And it's suddenly become important that all the jackets are the same.
Of course, it's now vital. Yeah.
So I went and bought the beige jacket, checked the label that it was linen, brought the beige jacket home and said, okay, we've got time now to work out what colour the cover is because I'm going to dye it. So then we had to start thinking about the headshots, and we decided that I would be wearing the correct colour jacket for the correct headshot. And in fact, we did that this week. So we agreed on red. So I dyed the jacket red. So I've now got one per thing. But the thing that was interesting about being in Paris, it was a 3-day conference. And for light traveling purposes, I decided I would use one jacket and different clothes underneath. And I just happened to have the green jacket. And it was other people who seemed to make the connection before I did, that they knew that I was the one in the green jacket, and people would come after me from behind and go, Claire, I want to talk to you. I mean, it was really kind of, this is really weird. Yeah. It was so lovely and really weird. So now when I go out, I'm going to wear the colour jacket that belongs to the book I'm talking about, which is why, Helen, at the beginning of this conversation, I said, which book are we talking about? So I could put on the correct jacket. And as you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, they're here on a hook because Helen said we're talking about all of them.
All of them.
Now what do I do?
We could have paused the recording, couldn't we? And you could have had a quick change halfway through.
Well,
that would have been a bit traumatic on a Friday morning. So we've sort of moved from Simplifying Coaching, the 2 editions, to it's probably Lens Not Label is the next one on the list.
So The Human Behind the Coach was the next one, and that was Partnership Publishing, which is and we're with the same partnership publisher for Lens Not Label. So if we talk about that through the lens of partnership label, my friend Becky Hall published The Art of Enough at the same time as Simplifying Coaching came out. And she had really good PR. So better than I'd had, which was partly that I didn't know what I was doing and I didn't know what to ask for and I didn't know how to do it, for all reasons. And I had a conversation with Becky. She told me that partnership publishing, you pay an upfront payment and then your royalties are higher. So I think for I get slightly different royalties now, but I think for that first edition, I got 8%. And so for partnership publishing, you pay up front a chunk of money and then you get 75% and you get copies of your book at cost that you can then sell. So this becomes a very different financial model. And The Human Behind the Coach, we paid off the cost in 2 years. So it sold really well. So that's the one that's won the awards. So if you've got a book, it's worth putting it in for awards. And that is really terrifying because now you're not just asking people to buy it or not. They're now actually going to tell you what they think of it, which is a really scary thing. So Alison from Practical Inspiration said, let's put it in, because she encourages all her authors to put it in for Business Book Awards. She said, let's put it in. So we put it in. And then we were shortlisted. And then you go to the dinner.
I was going to say there's a party, isn't there?
There's a party and you just don't know what's going to happen. You're
trying to be very humble. Oh no, I'm just delighted to be here.
And I had my sparkly dress and my DM boots because I really don't like, that's not my thing really. So it wasn't the cut. I did look a little bit different from everyone else because I just bought a normal dress that happened to be sparkly rather than a dress. And it's like being at the Oscars. There are photos and all of this stuff. And then they come to your award and they to your category and they stand there and they start announcing. And it was absolutely overwhelming to discover that book. So Lucia wasn't there. I was just there on my own. And they just announced. And then they say what they think about your book. And of course, you can't hear because you're overwhelmed. Everybody around you is going, oh, they're telling you to walk to the front to get this thing at the same time as they're giving a kind of eulogy to your book. And when I got to the front, I heard the last 2 words or 3 words, which was something about this was a book for everyone. And that was so affirming because each time I've written a book, I've said to the editor, this is a book for everyone. And they've gone, no, that's too wide. You need to narrow down who it's for. And each book, I've written it. I've agreed to narrow the audience. I've written it for the audience. And then the reader goes, this is for everyone, which is really lovely. But it might not be. Yeah, and that was completely, absolutely, totally overwhelming. And in such a beautiful way, because now you've been put up against your peers and you know, top professionals in the publishing industry have gone, your book was brilliant. It's a lovely thing, but it's also really odd. So, of course, we're going to put Lens Not Label and Uncontained up for the thing, but I'm absolutely terrified because every time I write a book, when you've written a book that's been so successful, you don't know that the next one's going to be okay. And you don't know you're not going to get Amazon reviews, which go, she should have stopped at simplifying coaching because they didn't get, they got worse. That's because that could be true, because you can't necessarily keep writing one of that quality. And of course, now I actually think simplifying coaching is well written. The thought that Lens Not Label might not be as well written as that, that's not impossible. I hope it is as well written, but yeah, who knows?
There's a humility in our writing sometimes, isn't there, with that it's important for it to connect and to be as good as it can be. And yet it's one of the few skills that we tell ourselves could get worse. Like, you'd never go, oh, I'm going to get worse at baking. If I do it again, my cake will.
I think it's necessarily. Maybe it's not about getting worse, but maybe it's not about being as good as. So you can't always make your best cake.
No, true.
So you might make a cake today and everybody in your family might go, that's the best cake you've ever made. And there might be just a thing. So my daughter made us a birthday cake last week. It was absolutely fantastic. But it may be that when she makes the same one next time, that the bottom's a little bit drier and the top's a little bit, and it might be the same recipe, but that doesn't mean it's going to be quite as exquisite as it was last time.
Yeah.
Don't know.
It's the right of fear, isn't it? Putting it out in the world.
Well, it's like freelance paranoia. If you're in employment at the moment, lovely listener, and you haven't written a book, can I just tell you, if you go freelance, you get freelance paranoia. And if you write a book, you get author paranoia. So just be aware.
You do. So I'd love to know a bit more about how Lens Not Label came about.
So Lens Not Label's quite a journey.
I love a journey on this podcast.
So I was noticing that people were getting anxious about working with neurodivergent people. And I said to Nathan Whitbread, I wonder whether there's a book to be written here. And he said, yeah. And I said, well, we could write it together. And I'd done a podcast with Kim Whitten after Simplifying Coaching came out. And she had, I think she talked about silence, but she and I had met once or twice and had a few conversations. And I had begun to notice that Kim can explain the theory behind my sound bites. So my sound bites aren't sound bites, but I have sound bites, and they're the things that people remember. They're the things that people highlight. They're the things that Allard de Jong said to me when Simplifying Coaching came out. He said, you need to read it in Kindle because you can see what people have highlighted.
Yes,
which is really interesting.
It's really good.
So Kim can explain. So I have some quick tips on my YouTube channel, and there's a quick tip about the mayonnaise, which I just happen to have here, where Kim explained to me why you need to ask a question in a timely way, in a way that understands linguistics. There's a linguistic reason that you need to ask a question in a timely way. And she was able to explain that. And what had happened was she'd been on we connected a little bit in various different ways. And she makes a really good foil to me because together I can give the soundbite and she can explain it in a simple way, but with some more robust theory underneath it, which is my weakness. Because I just don't think it's necessary. I mean, I think it's necessary for things to be underpinned by sound theory, but I don't think it's necessary to tell people what that is. So the three of us decided to write this book about how to work with neurodivergent people. And honestly, we started writing too late, because if we'd actually written it quickly when we had the idea. We'd have been the first book out about neurodiversity, but we didn't. And so Nathan brought the practical experience of working with neurodivergent people at work. I brought the coaching thing, and Kim brought the theory bit, although we're all coaches and we all work with individuals. And of course, as in the writing, neurodiversity has exploded. Not because there are more people who are neurodivergent than there were before, but more of us know we are. And one of the things that has happened in the writing of the book is that I have discovered that I am neurodivergent. Because Nathan said to me, "Do you think you might be neurodivergent?" And I'm going, "Well, I don't know." He said, "Well, let's get your screening."
Oh, yeah.
So it's changed my life, actually.
Yeah.
It's the book that's changed my life. I think Simplifying Coaching is the book that's changed other people's work, but the one that's changed my life is Lens Not Label. And to be honest, it hasn't been an easy thing. We've got 3 neurodivergent people writing together, and what you'll discover when the book comes out is that actually in the end, Kim and I wrote it and Nathan put some bits in. And there's a whole story behind that that's probably not mine to tell. So we're staying with practical inspiration. And this one, when we started writing it, we thought it was for coaches. And as we were writing it, we realized it was for everyone. And so we managed to take most of it doesn't say coach many times. It really is for anybody in the workplace who's working with people who are neurodivergent, which is basically everybody in the workplace. And you send it off to the development editor, because that's what Practical Inspiration have. And the development editor kind of knows what they're talking about, and they have a look at it. And they like it. The benefit for me of being in the same relationship with the editor is I can't write the proposal until the book's nearly finished, because the book that I produce is not the book that I started thinking about. So McGraw-Hill, for the second edition of Simplifying Coaching, said we want a list of what you're going to do, and I'm going, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. You've kind of got to trust that I will do something and it will be useful, and I know it will be what needs to happen, but I can't tell you right now what that's going to be. Whereas Alison is much more tolerant of that. So we're in dialogue with Alison, and she was going to take the next book, wasn't she? Because we'd won an award with the last book. And thank you, Alison, if you're listening, because we couldn't have done it without you, actually. But so Alison kind of agreed in principle that she would take Lens Not Label, and we knew that meant she would, but we didn't actually write the proposal until really late on. And it has been the most costly book that I've written.
Okay.
Because there's so many complexities about all the people in a dialogue.
Yeah.
And the concept is actually neurodivergent people will tell you how to work with them if you ask them. So there's a spoiler for one of the chapters, which pretty much only says that. It is only 1 page long, and it pretty much only says that. There are other things. And I went to Spain a year ago to try and really crack on with it, and it didn't crack on with it. And then I went to Spain this year for 2 weeks and really, really tried to move it forward. And at that point, I think we were getting somewhere, but it was not a great book until the end. And we've just had the proofs back.
That's exciting. Which
is just absolutely terrifying, because you read the proofs and you go, well, I wouldn't have said that. And by now they've told you can't change anything unless it's a spelling mistake or a punctuation error, and you absolutely can't change the page layout. So you can't force it to move something from page 17 to page 18, because that will ruin everything. So really, I probably should print out the proofs and start my little annotations now. Yeah. And I'm going to Kim. It's good enough. So traveling with somebody else through their first book writing and I'm not going to do that again, because I realize that the more books I write, the more distance there is between me and somebody who's writing for the first time. And in fact, Kim and I are writing the red one, Uncontained. I need to remember what the titles are, because in my mind there's the green one, the blue one, the red one, the yellow. And so that's a joint endeavour, which actually Kim is writing more of, using my words, which is a new thing for me.
Yeah. And I'm always curious when people co-write, because I've never co-written. I'm just like sit in my own. I write whatever I want, whenever I want. Lovely, lovely. And I'm in awe when people write with other people. How has that worked in the various iterations that you've
In very mixed ways, Helen.
Yes, I thought you might say that.
In mixed ways. I think that's probably all I'm going to say.
Fair enough. And am I right?
I'll say one thing. There's a huge benefit about co-writing in terms of co-creating content and gathering together ideas. Co-writing the actual manuscript is much more tricky, because whose voice is it? Who leads, who follows? And on one level, it's been easy because all the books are following Simplifying Coaching, and Simplifying Coaching is my voice. So the human behind the coach was our voice, but it was mostly my voice. Lens Not Label does come. Well, it'll be interesting to see what people say when it comes out. Mm-hmm. When's this podcast going out?
Beginning of August.
Okay, so we've missed it. There's a offer at Waterstones next week. So that's interesting, isn't it? Because I thought partnership published books couldn't get into Waterstones.
Ah, yes. So how did they get your book into Waterstones?
Well, we've had offers. So Practical Inspiration have changed their marketing team. And in the last 6 months, our books have been, Lens Not Label has been gathered into 25% pre-order promotions with Waterstones in the UK and with Barnes & Noble in the States. I haven't done anything apart from do what I'm told when I get the email going, this is a very top secret offer. You can share it on this date. So I'd like to say that I'd done a huge amount of work for that, but no, I just go, look at this email. It's so exciting.
Yeah. And it's a real mark of how the industry has changed, because it did used to be the only way to get into a bookshop, particularly a big bookshop, was if you were traditionally published. But now those barriers have gone. And actually, on a smaller scale, like your local independent bookshop likes the local independent author. So actually building those relationships, it's a little bit like building a coaching practice, isn't it? You build the relationships, you connect with people, and then that kind of grows by osmosis.
And we're building a relationship with an independent online bookseller called Psychological Books.
No.
And they're now building a relationship with McGraw-Hill so that they can do really nice deals on Simplifying Coaching.
Lovely.
So that people don't go through Amazon. So it's nice.
Which is another thing to think about, because again, when people think self-publishing, they think I have to put it on Amazon, which obviously from a business perspective does make sense, but it's not the only platform. And if you do it yourself, it is a bit more complicated to go directly to, your Kobo, your Barnes & Noble, your library. It's really important to me to have my books available in libraries for people that the price might be a barrier. But it's a couple of clicks. It's not that difficult to do. So yeah, it's definitely becoming democratized.
Yeah.
And I believe Uncontained is going to be independently published. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. So, and we may regret that.
Oh, tell me more.
So Uncontained is a book for neurodivergent coaches about being more us. And, who told us that we had to? There are a lot of rules that coaches follow that nobody ever told us, but we think they're rules and then we try and follow them. And many neurodivergent people love and hate rules simultaneously. So it's a niche audience. So whereas that Lens Not Label has got a potential audience of the whole world. Alison would disagree with me on that, but anyway.
Let's go with it for the sake of the
whole world. Uncontained is for people who are coaches. That's a reduction of audience, readership, and people who are neurodivergent. Although I think so many coaches are neurodivergent, I'm not. Anyway, so the cost of partnership publishing is somewhere around 10 grand. So the question is about return on investment. And are you going to sell enough books to make back that 10 grand? So remember that there's also the cost of writing it. So I'm not talking about the 1,000 hours you took to write it, which is the money you get back from royalties and never fully repaid, and for a bestseller. Because this thing about advances, I have had 2 advances in my writing career. And both times I have been told what an extraordinary thing that is and what an exception it is.
It's unusual these days.
And lovely listener, do you know how much they were? They were £250. So the fantasy of a 10 grand advance or £1 million advance, they're advancing against future sales. So go back to the 300, the average nonfiction books sell £300. No wonder we don't get advances. So the mathematics suggests that we're not going to sell enough uncontained in order to make back the 10 grand partnership publishing. And because we now have a name, we have an audience. So I've got the Coaching In podcast, I've got a mailing list, I've got 10,000 connections on LinkedIn, And I know that readers of one book read another, which is quite how terrifying it was to issue number 2, because you knew that the first people to buy it would be the people who bought number 1, and they would have an opinion, whatever that was. So for financial reasons, and also for speed reasons, and probably those are equal. So I'll talk about speed, but for that reason, we've decided to become self-published. And it might be that we go into a dialogue with a publisher later if it appears that there's a bigger market for it, because there's something about embracing difference, which actually it's about embracing difference, but it's embracing difference through the lens of neurodiversity. So let's see, we'll see. Yeah. So what did I say? I said it was about financial reasons
and speed.
So it takes 9 months to 12 months from submitting a manuscript to a publisher or partnership publisher to the day it goes in the shop. So I think we submitted Lens Not Label on the 30th of March, the first final draft, and it comes out on the 17th of November. So there's a time delay.
Yeah.
And it gives you time to think about your marketing and all those things, but there is a time delay. So it's now August, and
you can say it. We're recording on the 17th of July.
Let's imagine it's August. Uncontained isn't going to be finished until at least the end of September, and we're going to release it on the 1st of December. Now, we could actually release it on the 1st of October if we finish it at the end of September, because we have control of the timing. And they're printed on demand if you use Amazon, which means they haven't got to go through the printing process. They don't have to go through the sales process, the distribution process and all the things that other publisher goes. So there's speed in self-publishing, which is a good thing and a bad thing. Because I think one of the things that I learned after simplifying coaching is that in an ideal world, I know I need 8 to 12 weeks after I think I've finished to read it again before I submit it. Because when I read it again, I'm going to go, no. And it's much better to do that yourself than it is for someone else to go, no.
And again, just picking up on that, there's something in understanding our own processes there, because again, with independent publishing, like you say, there's no restriction on when you press the yellow button, and it is actually physically a yellow button on Amazon, other than you. So I know I need a gap. So my current title is finished, and it's the cover design is in progress, and everything's all set up. And the launch date will be the 1st of October, because I need time to set up my Amazon page and then let it sit for a couple of days and then go back and read the blurb again and then double check the formatting and get the proof copy and just really, really, really double check that all the thing, because I can't, I need that calm before the launch. And it's taken me a long time to learn that. And it's really annoying because it's done. And it's better for me to do it like that.
Do you use beta readers?
Yes, I use beta readers, and I have an advanced reader team as well ahead of launch. So yeah, my advanced readers will get the book in a couple of weeks' time. And that's actually a really nice way of moving to published without the scary what if everyone thinks it's rubbish bit, because those people are in your community or in your readership, and so they will give you feedback, but they'll give it to you in a really lovely way. So if you've like got a terrible typo on page 1 that for whatever reason skipped through all of the things, they'll tell you.
We shared our shitty 4th draft on the basis that 7 is the one that we submitted to the publisher. Maybe we shared 3rd draft with, I think it's called helpthisbook.com. And that allowed us to have people who didn't know us. And we shared it. We asked for compassion, and we shared the unpolished version, and people were all commenting on the same document.
Yes.
Which means that you can see, and they would put smiley faces or red question marks or whatever. And so you could see which parts of the chapter and which part of the shape of the book people liked. And they also made some really good suggestions. This isn't clear enough. That was the first time I'd done it with Lens Not Label, and we're going to do it with Uncontained, because you're actually getting real live in the moment feedback that actually is so useful at a time when you're not so attached to the text that you're not willing to change it.
Yeah. It's worth, if you've got writer friends, asking them sometimes too, because they will give you the structural pieces that a reader won't notice. And those two things together are the gold from a feedback perspective, aren't they?
Can I tell you something really funny?
Yes, I love funny stories.
So on about draft 5, I print it out.
Yeah, I always have a printout version.
And then I label each section, and then I cut it up, and then I go, that doesn't go there, it goes here. And then I have a where on earth does this go pile. But the thing that's most extraordinary is that when I do that, I often find a paragraph that it didn't quite finish properly, and it doesn't lead into the next bit properly. And I'll find the next paragraph, which flows absolutely perfectly, had been in another chapter. And you think, well, how did that happen? Because I didn't write them on they were written at completely different times about completely different things. And yet, if you put those two together, they're really quite good. It's a bit weird, but it is what it is.
I sometimes wonder if that's because we're avid readers and we've internalized some of that learning.
Whoever knows, but
I don't know, but I like the answer.
It's lovely. Oh, because you go, oh no, that needs a bit more. And then you sort of go, oh, this bit will be absolutely what's needed. So and it's holding lightly to knowing where something goes. And in fact, now I write with I put square brackets at the top of many paragraphs going, this probably doesn't go here.
Oh.
So that it can lightly be moved.
Nice. So with all of these different paths to publication and all of these different books and experiences, what lessons have you got for people that are aspiring to write?
I would go back to that very first advice that I got from my friend Sam, who said, if you're going to self-publish, or indeed if you're going to go with a publisher, get a really professional designed business book cover and have it really well edited. And I would add, and don't fight the editor. If the editor says this cover isn't going to work, you need to go, thank you very much. I probably don't love that cover that you're suggesting so much, but I'm going to say you're right, because I can't tell you how many books I get sent by people to look at where I go, you overruled the editor. And that's also true in the content. they know more than we do about what readers want and prefer and what's professional and all of those things. And when you make it, oh, but I have to have that picture of my granny on the cover, you want a simple, sleek, professional cover. And if they say this font is better than that font, unless it's about neurodivergent access, we are experts in our bit, but they are experts in their bit. And I think listen to them, and don't go for a glossy cover.
Yes, also very good tip. Matte cover, white paper.
Yes. Yes. Because yeah. And the thing that I really get shocked by is when a publisher book looks self-published. Just to go, why did you do that and not a photograph?
No. All these things that people don't know when they've never done it before. So very useful wisdom. Claire, thank you so much. That has been an absolutely fascinating exploration of your writing and publishing journey. Thank you for sharing so generously. If you can close by telling people where they can find you, your services and your fabulous books online.
So the books are at Amazon or anywhere. Claire Pedrick is my name. You can search for me. I have a community where I read my books, and that's Patreon, patreon.com/Claire Pedrick, I think. And yeah, if you just search me in Google, you'll find me everywhere.
And I'll put lots of links in show notes to make that
and
easy
LinkedIn
for people.
If it's a business book.
Yeah, sounds amazing. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you for having me. Isn't it nice to spend a day talking about yourself?
Chatting about books. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Claire.
Thank you.
Such a fantastic conversation. I've since finished reading Simplifying Coaching, the green one, and I highly recommend it. Next week, we have an episode of The Footnotes, and it's the 1-year anniversary of the show. Time flies when you're having fun. So I'll be sharing all of my lessons learned from a year of hosting the Coach White podcast. I'll see you for the next chapter. Thank you for joining me today. You can get the show notes and your free guide to publishing options at coachwhite.co.uk. Remember to subscribe and leave a review on your podcatcher of choice. Your words can make a difference. A review can too. If you'd like to connect, find me on LinkedIn, O'Neill Helen, that's O'Neill, ONEILL, or on Instagram at coach_white. I'll see you for the next